Warren Rustand, you are an entrepreneur, athlete, educator, speaker, and philanthropist. You have been a basketball player in the World Basketball Championship and you serve in the U.S. military. You also serve as an appointment secretary and cabinet secretary under President Gerald Ford. You have served as the CEO of 6 different multi-million and multi-billion dollar corporations, and you have been in the board of directors of 52 for-profit and non-for-profit organizations. And now you have packaged all the leadership lessons that you have learned along the way, and you are giving it to us in a book that you call The Leader Within Us, Mindset, Principles, and Tools for a Life by Design. Warren, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to being with you.
So, Warren, you have done so many things. I don't even know where to start. I mean, secretary for the U.S. president, CEO of all these high-level corporations, and athlete. Why don't you try to summarize a little bit of that in about 10 minutes to see more, to learn more about your background?
Well, it's nice of you to ask. Thank you very much. So I was born very poor on an isolated farm in the state of Minnesota near the Canadian border. And we crossed into Canada all the time to visit friends and to go hunting and do different kinds of things. So it was a good experience. And I got to know Canada as a young boy. But I was born on this isolated farm and we ate what we grew out of the ground. And it was a tough, tough existence. My father became better at farming and then he bought another farm. And then soon we found ourselves moving to Southern California and learning how to surf and play basketball and enjoy the weather of Southern California. And then I was offered a scholarship to play basketball at the University of Arizona. And so I went down there and I met my wife there. We had a wonderful experience together in college and university. And we got married while we were in our third year at the university. And then I played basketball following college for a year. And then I went back to the university for my master's degree and coached basketball. And then I started my entrepreneurial journey after that. So it was, it's been a wonderful experience. In fact, as you were introducing me, all those things that I, have done, I think I should be more tired than I am. I think I should be fatigued by all of this process, but it's just, life is very good and I'm very excited to be with you.
Let me ask you, so you mentioned that you were born poor, and I hear all this noise that there is no income mobility, that if you are born poor, you are doomed to die poor. How true is that?
I don't think that's true. I think there are many, many people and many examples of people who have been very successful, who were born in very humble circumstances and very difficult circumstances. I think it's more determined by our drive, our energy, what we want to achieve in our life, our vision for our life. I think if we have a good vision for our life and then work to achieve that we can accomplish almost anything we want to accomplish. And it's one of the reasons I wrote the book. I think a person who reads this book has a formula by which they can begin changing their lives. And they can do that first by creating that really clear vision about what is it they want to accomplish in their life.
Well, drive and energy. It seems that for many people in the States, some of their biggest ambition is to get one of those $15 an hour jobs or one of those union jobs that, is got guarantees something. And that seems to be like the top level of their ambitions. And you are talking about, having higher visions, achieving this and achieving the other thing. And I wonder, how do we take some of the visions that you have, an ambition, and give it to a lot of people who don't see farther than their $15 per hour job?
Yes, I think that's really important. And a lot of us, I've spent a lot of my life working in not-for-profit organizations that work with marginalized communities and marginalized people to help coach them and teach them about what their future can become. I think part of that is that we impose limits on ourself. And when we impose limits on ourself, we limit our own future. I didn't have good parents, or I was raised poor, or I'm not smart enough, I don't have the right education, I'm not white enough, I'm not black enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not short enough. We have limitations that we place on ourselves. And when we do that, right, we automatically determine that we won't achieve our full potential. So we have to take those limitations off, that each of us, right, has the opportunity to go as far as we choose to go. It takes hard work, it takes persistence, it takes effort, all of those things, but we still have the opportunity to be successful if we work hard at it. I think sometimes though, we need role models, we need coaches, we need mentors, we need teachers to show us the way. That's one of the reasons I wrote the book, but it's also, I also am currently mentoring 40 people, right? And I'm mentoring them to help them move their life along to achieve their goals and objectives. So it's like you could be a mentor to many people. You've found success yourself. You understand what it takes to be successful. And now you can coach and teach others.
Wow. Okay. Listeners, I'm willing to coach someone if someone is willing to take me. But okay, the thing is that we have so much noise. I mean, we have advertisers, psychologists, masters, PhD, telling us what is the thing that we should want. We should aspire to buy the new car or the new brand of jeans or the new cell phone brand, whatever, with 20 cameras inside of it. So, you know, we get so much bombarded that I think many of us lack that clear vision of, okay, this is the noise, but my real objective, my real goal is to achieve X. And I think not so many people have that clear vision.
Well, I think you're right. And I think that there's about 40 million stimuli that comes into our brain each day. And we have to sift and sort among all that stimuli to decide what it is we're going to listen to. And I call that voices and choices. We have all these voices telling us things, but in the end, we are a free agent. We have free choice. We get to choose who we listen to and what we listen to. That's the first part. The second part is I think each one of us needs to step back from our daily routines and our daily activity to find time and space to really think about where we want to go with our life. What is it we want to achieve? Not what others want us to achieve for them or for us, but what we want to achieve, right? And so once we have that very clear vision, then we can act on that intentionally every day and we can go achieve that vision. The world is full of people who started small and ended up big, who started with a dream, who started with a vision of themselves, right? One time I was having dinner about 25 years ago with three of my mountain climbing friends. And I asked the first mountain climber, what is it you're going to do for the next 25 years? And he said, well, I'm going to try to climb mountains. I love climbing mountains. I said, great. I asked my second friend, what are you going to do? He said, well, I want to climb some of the tallest mountains on the 7 continents. I said, great. I asked my third friend, what are you going to do? And he said very precisely, I'm going to climb Mount Everest by the time I'm 25. He had a very clear vision of what he was going to do. So once he decided that, then all he had to do was intentionally act on that each day. And it's interesting, his name is Jamie Clark. He lives in Calgary, Canada. He climbed Mount Everest when he was 21, 23, and 25.
Wow.
So he's a phenomenal Canadian. He's done extraordinarily well, and he's written books, and he's coached others, and he's coaching others and helping them become climbers, but also helping them be successful in life. He's a fantastic guy. He's a guy you should have on your program someday. He's fantastic, okay? But he did what he said he wanted to do. He had a vision, a clear vision of what it was he wanted to accomplish by the time he was 25. I think we sometimes forget that we have to have a vision of where we want to go and what we want to do. And once we decide that, we can then act on it. And you know that there are lots of actors who decided as children that they wanted to be actors or they wanted to be singers or musicians, right? And then they go do that. There are many others, more, who don't. They have the same dream, but they don't act on it. They don't work at it. They don't persist in it, right? And oftentimes it's just persistent that pays off.
Okay, well, with the same example of the mountain climbers, I mean, the three of them wanted more or less the same thing. The last one, he was more specific about what, when, and how.
Yes.
Did he get that by coaching or by thinking harder than the other ones, by reading? How a person knows that he has to have this clear and timetable, otherwise it's just a wish like many other wishes. Is it coaching?
All of us, you're right. All of us carry wishes in our head all the time. But wishes just evaporate, right? We have to write it down. So one of the things I did when I was 19 years old, I was taking a philosophy class at the university. And one of the things I was reading about setting goals and objectives and so forth struck me at that moment. And so I sat down over the next 2 weeks and I wrote the 100 things that I was going to accomplish in my lifetime. And I have that in my desk drawer. It's about 18 inches from my hand right now. I look at it every week, and I look at the goals that I set as a young man. And by looking at it each week and then acting on that, I've actually accomplished 98 of the 100 that I said I was going to do. So it's not just wishing. It's not wishing I were an actress. It's not hoping I get to be an actress or an actor. It's the notion that I've decided that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to work at that every single day. And when we do that, we tend to accomplish that which we've set out to do.
Wow. Um, okay, so you are busy, you are CEO of all these companies, not all of them at the same time, of course, one
Of
after the
course.
other one, and you are coaching people, CEOs and managers and this and that. How do you decide, okay, I'm busy, my agenda is full, yet I'm going to sit down and write this book? How that came out?
Well, my friends have been urging me to write the book for a very long time. There were some editors of a couple of publishing companies who came to me and heard me speak and thought that I could write books about that. But I still didn't do it. That was 10, 12 years ago, and I could have written the book then. But I was busy and I had lots of things I was doing. And it came a point in my life where I determined that I should write down what I believe, right? And what I believe is how a person can become successful and really manage and control their life differently. And so I began to write those principles. It took me a couple of years to write the book because I didn't write at it all the time, every day. But I'm finally glad I got it down and the principles are down, because these are the principles that I speak about. These are the principles that I've learned over my entire life, that I applied in sports and the military and corporate executive and not-for-profits and coaching and mentoring. These are the principles that I believe are really important for a person to know if they want to change their life.
Okay, so you have 3 principles of leadership and 5 principles of personal greatness. Can you share some of those, let's say, 3 principles of leadership?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. The first 3 basic principles of leadership, and I've observed this in military leaders, political leaders across my lifetime, corporate leaders, that they're very similar. The first is to have clarity of vision. It's the notion of where are we going? What are the outcomes I want? Second is certainty of intent. It's acting intentionally on your vision. And the third is the power of values. Who we are and what we believe in, our core beliefs and values, make a big difference for ourselves and others, because our core values are the guardrails on the road that we create, the pathway to our vision. They guide us. And so it's that important thing that we have to have. Then there are 5 principles that we have to practice every day. The principles I call of personal greatness. And I've observed these in all the leaders that I've seen. First one is commit to a higher level of discipline, meaning increase your discipline for everything you do in everything in your life. Because detail, the discipline of detail, makes a difference. So discipline your life. Work out a little harder, eat a little better, right? Run a little faster, read a little bit more, all those things. Just increase your discipline a little bit. The second is live with purpose every day. So when we first wake up in the morning, let's sit on the edge of our bed and let's ask ourselves, what's my purpose today? What's my highest level of thinking for today? How can I do that? And if I do that, I've done the most important thing that I can do all day. I've lived with purpose, right? Next is act with intent, meaning everything we do every day should be directed toward that distant landmark, our vision of ourselves in the future. So everything we do should move toward that. But what happens is we get distracted along the way, right? The next shiny object, the next book, the next speaker, someone calls us up, there's a fire in the house, whatever it is, we get distracted and we get off the pathway to our vision. We have to stay on that pathway. The third is make conscious choices. And that's really important, is to make conscious choices, right? It's essential to be able to do. I'm sorry, it's actually the fourth. Make conscious choices. Don't unconsciously just get swept along in life. Don't just go with the herd. Don't just go with the crowd, but define your own path and make conscious choices about what it is you're going to do. And the last is the fifth, is engage in a cause greater than ourselves. When
Wow.
we're feeling badly about ourselves, when things aren't going exactly like we like them, let's go serve somebody else who's having an even worse time than we are. Let's serve other people. Let's help other people along the way. And I think we find that if we help other people, we feel better about ourselves, we feel better about our lives, because there are lots of people in need in the world. And we have the opportunity and tools to help those people. That's our obligation. If we can do those three great foundational principles, clarity, vision, certainty, intent, power, values, then if we can do those five principles of greatness every day, commit to a higher level of discipline, live with purpose, act with intent, make conscious choices, and engage in a cause greater than self. If we can do those things, we begin to shape our life and our achievement in a very different way.
Wow. How do we determine what is a worthy value? Because then again, we have so much noise, and let's say one group of people telling us this is the right value to adopt for your life, and it sounds good, and it makes sense. And then another group of people tell us, no, 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 this is another set of, this set of value that you should adopt. And we see this in our political parties, of course. Everyone's fighting for the right values. We are the political party of the true values for society, and it's just
Yes.
it's just a whole confusion. So yeah, how do we determine our values?
Well, the great news is that we have great choice for ourselves. We can make choices for ourselves. And we have to step back and we have to discover what's most deepest in us. What's the deepest feelings and beliefs that we have? Stephen Covey, who wrote the book Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, said there are three moments of truth in a human being's life. The first is when they know what their core beliefs and values are. The second is when they commit to those core beliefs and values. And the third is when they act on those core beliefs and values. So you and I have to step back from our daily activities and really pause, find quiet time, and instead of listening to what others think our values should be, let's decide for ourselves what our values are. All right, let's decide what that is. Honesty one of our values? Is integrity one of our values? Is faith one of our values? Is kindness one of our values? Let's decide what they are, and then let's go live those values every day. And they will become obvious to our friends and family what we believe by how we act.
Wow. I find that in the topic of leadership, one of the things that I'm lacking, and many of my listeners is lacking as well, is endurance. I mean, I see someone like you, and I say, wow, I would like to be as bright and good looking as Warren. How does he do it? And then I find out that you have been doing that for a long time. Almost everyone that I admire in one topic or another have been doing that same thing for over 10 years. And then, of course, I get this new wish. I want to be like Warren, and after 3 months I get tired because I don't I probably don't have the endurance. I don't have what it takes. And of course, you mentioned the topic of discipline, and not too long ago, the number one and the principles of leadership. And I find, well, you have to have the disciplines to do what you said to do, but also to do it for a long term, more than 3 months,
Yes.
more than 6 months, more than a year.
That's true. The first mistake you made was thinking that I'm good looking. I think that's a big mistake. You're the only one who's ever said that, by the way.
And your wife, and your
my
wife.
wife, my wife doesn't even think I'm good looking. So it's a problem. No, you're right. You're right. It is persistence. It is discipline. It is staying after it every day. And that's what I learned from sports early in life, was that the best athletes were the most disciplined athletes. The best athletes were the one who repetitively did the same things day after day after day, which allowed them to become great, right? We don't hear much about the people who give up. We don't hear much about the people who can't make the journey. And we don't hear about the people who had failure all along the way because they were unwilling to put in the effort. What we hear about and what we admire are the great athletes, right? The Wayne Gretzkys of the world. I had a chance to get to know Wayne Gretzky, one of the great hockey players of all time, maybe arguably the greatest hockey player of all time in terms of scoring, certainly, right? He was persistent day after day. He didn't have a big body. He didn't have exceptional skill. But he was really smart about the game of hockey, right? He always skated to where the hockey puck was going, not to where it is, right? So So he applied that principle and it made him great, right? And you look at the Bobby Orrs, right? You look at the Ovechkins today, you look at the great hockey players, and they are different than those who aren't great. And what makes them different is not just their talent, it's their work ethic, it's their effort that they put in every single day. And I think sometimes we forget that greatness and success require effort and persistence. And
Wow.
we don't link the two.
Wow. I wonder if there is any questions that I neglected to ask you. You have covered the topic of your book, but maybe I missed something else.
Well, I think the most important decision that we make is who we marry.
Mm.
And I married really well, and I married a wonderful woman, and we've been married 56 years. And she has been a wonderful coach and role model for me. She's a fantastic person. We have 7 beautiful children. We have 19 grandchildren, and we all live together on a farm in Tucson, Arizona. So I get to see our children and grandchildren every single day, and I'm very blessed to be able to do that. I live a wonderful, happy life, and it's because I'm around wonderful, happy family members all the time. So keep our closest relationships near our heart all the time. And when we do that, we will live a happy life.
But that comes again to the topic of persistence. I mean, the legend goes that you ask your wife every week for what is it, 54 weeks until she finally accepted to have dinner with you. I
That's
mean,
right.
people nowadays, they swipe right or swipe left and it's all over within 5 seconds. And so
Well,
can
that's
you,
right.
and your wife is already taken. So
Well, again, I had a vision of the person I wanted to marry. And when I met her, I knew she was that person, but she didn't know that yet. It took her a long time to figure that out. But I knew right away. And so I kept asking her out until she, in a weakened condition, she said, yes, I'd have dinner with you. And then it all happened really fast after that. So we were very lucky. And I'm very fortunate to be married to her.
good for you. Okay, Warren, can you tell us one more time the title of your book and your website and where can people follow you?
Thank you. The title of the book is The Leader Within Us. And you can go to Warren Rustand, RUSTAND.com. And there are lots of Facebook Live episodes. There are lots of interviews there. There's lots of interesting information, but you can get the book there. You can go to Amazon and get the book if you like. But I'd love to have you read it and then begin to apply those principles to your life. And when you do that, your chances of being successful increase dramatically.
And for the listeners, I have seen Warren in action. He has come to Montreal. I have gone to one of his workshops. And the information that he has to share is valuable, way worth more than the price of entry. So, Warren, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much. And thank you for what you're doing for all your listeners, everybody who follows you. You're doing a wonderful work. Thank you so much.